Hi there, welcome back to the Board Game Specialists. We are on episode 69, and today we're talking about our best, in our opinion, the best art in games. Melanie, before we get into that, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah, actually got to play quite a bit of games yesterday, both with Ashley and then with Lily. So me and Ashley ended up playing my father's work. This is one that she had mentioned. She wanted me to play with her for a while, and we played it. She's like, I think you'll like it. And I did. I did. I really like the strong story element in the game and how your decision kind of changes the game as you go a little bit. Because, and first of all, it has the dice trays or the trays. So the setup is amazing. And then on the side of the box, there's a picture of how everything goes back together. So it looks amazing. The components are just unreal as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. It's app driven, but I would say the app has a very secondary role here. A few times you'll kind of refer to the app because as you make your decision, it'll change a few things in the games, and then that's where the app comes in. But it's not like an app game with a board game on the side. Like it's a board game that has a bit of an app on the side.
Yeah, I agree.
But it was so interesting. And then in the board, you have this kind of little long cutout, and then that's where the spine of the maps book go in. And then as we play, and then there's like different scenarios that we can play, and we ended up playing like the witchcraft or witch hunt one basically. And as we play, it's like, okay, now turn to map 12 based on what we decide. So okay, we go on map 12, and then the butcher shop has been destroyed because we ended up burning him at the stake. So it was really interesting how it developed and how it played and all the components. And I ended up winning, so that's good.
Oh, awesome. Did you build your big invention?
Oh my god, I had everything. Like I had my A inventions, my B inventions, my 3C inventions, and I was short just a couple of cubes. I couldn't build it. So, oh my god, I was like, and I was building immortality. I was going to have an immortality injection, but it was just not meant to be. And it's interesting because like you play 3 generation, and each generation has 3 stages, and as you go from one generation to the next, all the resources go away, and somehow I manage to forget this every time, and I'm like, oh no. So it all goes away, and then you got to start all over again at the beginning of the next generation. I was like, darn it. But it is an interesting game. It reminded me a fair bit of Destiny's.
Yeah.
Like it has that same kind of feel and kind of mechanism as Destiny's. I think I prefer Destiny's a little bit more still. I really like the Destiny's how we're all playing this story and we're all getting different aspect, and we have different perspective to it and different goals related to it, and some of our goals are completely opposite as what the other ones are doing, so it affects the other people's actions as well. Like, we're kind of, we don't know what you're trying to do, but you're trying to kill the person I'm trying to save, so that's gonna clash, but so I mean, it scratches the same itch for me. I think I still prefer Destiny's a little bit more. But I really enjoyed my father's work. And then afterwards, in the evening, me and Lily played Dundeon Makers, which is a really small little 2-player game that had just been delivered through Kickstarter this month. Oh. So we ended up, and it's created by Fundamental Games. So Wes Woodbury was a guest on our podcast a little while back, and it was neat. We played it. First of all, like you start with your middle tile. So I have my middle tile, Lily has her middle tile, and we're building a dungeon. And depending on what you add to it, some might score, but then you can add minions to your dungeon, and if you move your minions for every tunnel that they go through, that'll score. So there's different things that will score. And then we had pulled out the iron clays and keeping score that way, so that was neat too.
Well,
But as you build, you have this like 5x5 grid of this dungeon you're building, and it just looks so neat and so satisfying. There's a bit more of take that element, like you're trying to build a dungeon and not leave passageways that leads out of your dungeon, because then the other player could bring in their own minions onto your board, and that counts as a -5. And there are some block tiles that you could play that would kind of give -2. So because I was playing with my daughter-in-law, we didn't really play with a take that element of the game. We were kind of more friendly. But what was really neat about it was the action selection. So you have one of the tile that is how you decide the action selection. And on the one side, it's just you play a tile. That's the action. So once you do the action, you flip from side to side, you flip the tile over. And now on the other side, there's the option of either swapping a tile with one of the 3 that you can add. So you would swap it out, or moving a tile, or placing a tile regularly, or if you like, the one is like swapping a tile or placing one of your block tiles on the other person's dungeon. And then when you decide what you want to do, you rotate that tile 90 degrees to put the action you want to do on the top. So that then the next time you flip it over, so the next time it's lay a tile only, and then you flip it over again, and then now because you've rotated it, your options in 2 turns are going to be, of course, lay a tile because that's always available, but then place a minion or move a minion. And then as I was like, okay, I want to place, oh, well, then I need to rotate it, so I need to do this now. Like, it was really interesting on deciding which action to do for what would come in the future, because if you just keep laying tiles, it's never going to rotate, and you're never going to be able to do the other sets of action. So it was neat. It played quick. It was simple to play and learn. And then what was neat, because there's like, okay, well, this tile does this, and this type of tiles does that. And then if you have all these monsters, then they score for this. But if you have pairs, then they score extra. And like, there was all these different things to kind of try to remember for scoring. But they had like the scoring player aid tile that made it really easy to kind of keep track of all that. So it was just really satisfying, and it's just a neat, quick 2-player game. How about you? What have you been playing lately?
I got one of my oldies but goodies back to the table, and that's Elysium. Now, this one is an older one, and it's like, I have to read the description because I will mess it up. It's like a mythic Greece setting, and you're a demigod, and you want to earn the favor of the Olympians to become a figure of legend yourself. Now, how you do that is, it's basically a card game, but you have these little statues or columns, I should say, when you each get one of each color, and there's red, blue, yellow, green, and those are your actions. So you have all these cards out in front of everybody, and on the cards, you first start with a bunch of different families, and there's like tons of decks in the box, so you will play a different game each time, because you can mix and match like different families each game. So we left, I think, 4 or 5 in the box. We played with the base starting ones. And then, so you shuffle those up, and then you will set them out. Like, there's so many that are set out each round. And so on the cards on the top, you'll have possibly 2 different colors. You might have a red and a blue. So you will only be able to use your pillar of those color to take that card. So the actions you take are either taking a card, or you're going to take from this top board. It's basically your place in the game. So if you take like first place, then next round you're going to be first place. You'll get less actions and less money. If you took 4th place, you will get more actions and possibly more money, but then you're not going to get to choose first. So, and the turn order will change immediately after that round while you're doing your actions, which I'll explain. But so you will take a card and you will put it at the top of your Elysium before you're bringing it down into your I guess it's your Elysium, and the top is called, now I'm forgetting, it's called something up top, but you will set it there. And on the bottom of each card are abilities. And some of them are instant abilities, some of them are ongoing, some of them are end game, some are just happen in certain phases. But the only way those will be able to be active is if they're still on top of your Elysium and not brought down. Now, the whole reason of bringing them down is you're trying to make these sets. So you're trying to make runs of 1, 2, 3, or you're trying to build different like colors, like sets of 2, basically. So all different families in one. And these are called legends. So the longer you build of each one, the more points you're going to get at the end of the game. Now, you can always, if you like near the end of the round and you don't want any of those cards there, you can use any of your little pillars, take a card, flip it over, and it's just a citizen. So it'll just sit up on top until you bring it down. But it can be stuck in between any of your legends to fill in a spot. It's going to be worth -2 points at the end of the game, but it might help you get this very large legend, so it might be worth it. Now, that's all it really is. So it's just kind of a little engine builder. But the neat thing is too, after the round is done, depending what placement you took and how many actions you'll have, the actions are what you're going to do to bring these cards down into your Elysium. So depending on the level they are, 1, 2, or 3, you have to pay that amount in coins. So to pull them down will cost money. Once they're down there, the actions are nil, unless it's an end game. Then you will get to score those at the end, but you won't get to do any of the actions anymore. So some of them are really neat, because some of them are anytime you take this family of cards, you're going to get a coin or you're going to get a point. And it's all different things. And you're just kind of building up a little engine. It's a very quick game, but it's so beautiful and fun. And like one of those old simple Euros that it's not talked about a lot, but the people that talk about it absolutely love it. And they were supposed to bring out an expansion years and years ago, but haven't done so. So I'm not sure if that'll ever happen, but it's one that you should really play if you love engine builders, and especially to play a nice Euro game in under an hour. It's
nice.
Awesome. The other one we played is one of my 2-player favorites, and that's Lost Cities. Now, I taught this to Ashley because she really likes Longboard. And that's a Reiner Knizia game that I feel like he took some of the elements from Lost Cities to make that game. So I'm like, you have to play the originated game where it came from. So we played that one. I'm not sure that she really liked it, but I just love it. I love how it's such a simple game. You're only just trying to build up these expeditions and just putting cards lower to highest, and you can never stick any in the middle. And then sometimes you will get to add these handshake cards, which are, what are they called? Investments?
Yeah.
I believe. That if you place them before you start your expedition, they will double. And if you play another one, it'll triple. But the thing is, it'll also double or triple the negative if you don't make it up to 20 points. So I had warned her at the beginning, I'm like, okay, so you're not going to want to build probably all the expeditions because most likely you won't be able to complete them. So first round course, she does all.
Oh, no.
All of them there. And so then we're adding up points, and I'm like, okay, so this one's negative and this one's negative. So she's like, okay, yeah, now I get it. So we played again. And it's just an awesome game. I don't know why some of these simple mechanic games just like, I just love so much, but I think it's because it's a game you can pull out. You don't really have to think. You can just sit there and play, and it's almost like it's odd. You're on auto. Like you play it naturally, and you don't really have to. I don't know. I think that's what I like about those games. But now let's get into our top 9 art games. Now, you said you have an honorable mention?
I do. So I wanted to mention too, we're doing our top 9 art. Well, I mean, it's a great list, but because we were asked to to present this category for Board Game Barbecue that are doing like best games in different categories, and we introduced the best art, but we don't do top ones. So we talked about our top 1 on there, but I was like, okay, well then we got to do a top 9. So we ended up, this is the reason we're doing our top 9. And yeah, I got to say, like a couple of games when I first wrote the list, I was like, oh yeah, I got to put that one. One of them was like Lotus. But okay, Lotus artwork is okay, it's not that it has amazing artwork, is that it looks stunning on the table. So I removed that one from my list afterwards, and I was like, oh, but this one is like, oh, like, and I put Kodama on there as well, but that's the same thing where you just add branches. Not that the artwork is unreal, it's good, but it's just, it looks so neat when you put, so it's like, we'll have to do a top 9 looks stunning on the table list that kind of includes those other type. That's not necessarily about the artwork, but
yeah, I agree. There's some of those. I actually have one in my mind here, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a good one because, yeah, when you look at the overall game, sometimes you're like, the art's not great, but look at how awesome
it just looks so cool, right? So I had those, so it was like, oh, no, I better remove that. So, but my honorable mention is Lost Cities, the one you just played.
Oh, really?
Just because I think it is so neat that if you stack all of the cards in order, it creates a big, long mural design. Like, it fits on each other and it builds this big scenery. And just the thought that they put that much thought and effort into an attention to that artwork detail, I thought that was worth mentioning. So my honorable mention is Lost Cities because of the back of the card creating this big long. Oh, and Carla's like, what? Does it really? So she's bringing it down. Did you believe me? Have you not noticed this before?
I have not noticed. I just pulled the game off my shelf. I gotta look now.
But yeah, if you kind of take all the blue cards and you put them in order, the back creates the pattern like that it builds on the image.
Like beside each other?
Yeah.
Or on top of each other?
No, if you put them side to side.
Oh, no way.
That's funny.
I'll just play while you talk.
Yeah, so I just thought that was such a neat attention to the artwork, like attention to details to the artwork, that they made that work that way. And then, yeah, obviously it's not something that everybody notices, but if you do, like, it just creates this big long pattern. Watch, all of our listeners are going to go and pull down their Lost Cities. And I was like, really?
I got to make a panorama now.
Exactly. It's just really cool. So that's my honorable mention. Do you want me to go to my number 9 then?
Yes.
Okay.
Do your number 9.
So, oh, sorry, actually, I forgot to mention. So my honorable mention, Lost Cities, is created by Reiner Knizia. And there's a lot of different artists involved. And that's what I noticed when there's like big art in games, there's a lot of people involved. So Vincent Dutrait, Michaela Kinley, Anki Pohl, Tyler Rick, Klaus Stefan, and Franz Vohwinkel. So those are the 6 artists that was involved in Lost Cities. So let me bring up my next one here, because I didn't write all these down because there were so many and my book is kind of small. My number 9 is Atlantis Rising 2nd edition. This one here was published in 2019, and this is a Vincent Dutrait artwork game designed by who was the designer? Galen Cecil and Brent Dickman. And this one is really interesting. So it's a cooperative game. You have the island of Atlantis is sinking. So they're trying to save as much of the technology and the knowledge that they had built there before they can leave. And they also got to create the portal so that they can portal out. But the Atlantis is kind of like you got the main area in the middle and it branches out from there. But as it's sinking, you're rolling dice and the end of the island branch flips over. And I mean, first of all, this game is bright and colorful and it looks beautiful. But what's really neat is when you flip these cards over, because it's all modular, you have all these pathways that have different type of actions that you could do from them, but it's all modular pieces that builds up to it. And then when it sinks, you flip the one over and then you can kind of see the waters kind of covered it. You can kind of see a little bit of what was there, but it's like, you know, it shows that it's underwater now. It's been lost. And it just looks so neat. So how like, you know, you see that it's lost, but how stunning it was before. And I just think the artwork in this one is outstanding. So that's my number 9, Atlantis Rising.
I have yet to play this one. Do you have this one?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Next time we have a game day, we got to try that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, my number 9 is Gartenbau, made in 2022 by David Abelson and Alex Jean, and the artists are Matt Paquette and Co. and Todd Sanders. Now, this one is a tile laying game. I have the wooden tiles, and the art on them is all like Victorian flowers and like antique Victorian flower drawings. So when you've placed your garden, like at the end of the game, all you see are this like gorgeous tiles all around with different types of flowers. And to me, it just looks so beautiful. I mean, of course, our picks for these are all in our opinion, and art is so personal to people. But for me, I just love to look at it. I love playing it and just looking at all the art, and it just feels to me so, I don't know, it's just so interesting. The gameplay is really cool too, because you draft these tiles, and how you do that is you go around this little rondelle, and the tiles are on the board. Now, in between the tiles, there's spots where you can collect resources. So if you don't have enough resources to build something right now, you will like move your little wheelbarrow to a spot where you can collect resources. Now, if you go onto a tile, you can also collect resources there or take the tile. So the tiles are just like the buds, I think they're called. So you will put those down first, and then once you connect to that the flower wants, then you can go to and get one of those tiles and put that on top. And then you have these personal tiles that you have chosen at the beginning of the game, and they're these big square wooden tiles that will fulfill all like those. If you can fulfill what's on there, like that you've built on your board, you will get to place that on top, and there'll be big points at the end of the game. So it's kind of neat because you're not really fighting for fulfilling these big tiles, because you have your personal ones that you've drafted at the beginning of the game. So it's not super stressful that way, but going around, there are some of the things that you want to collect before the other person, because you need that to put in your garden in order to fulfill one of the big tiles. It's such a lovely game. I had got this as a Kickstarter, and I basically got 2 games because I had ordered the wooden tiles. So I got 2 boxes, like 2 beautiful boxes, like the main game with the box, and then another box that just held the all the upgraded pieces, which also looked like an actual game box. And then I also got the cardboard pieces. So I basically, other than the game board, had 2 games. It was like, I'm surprised they sent the cardboard as well with that, but it's just so beautiful. And I love this game, and that's Gartenbau, my number 9.
Nice. I've never heard of that one.
Oh,
I'll
really?
have to look into that.
Yeah. Awesome.
My number 8 is Meadow. So Meadow was created in 2021. The designer is Clemens Kalicki, and the artist is Carolina Kajak and Katarzyna Fibiger. I am butchering these names. I'm so sorry. But Meadow is, you know what? Meadow is probably the one that has the most artwork in games, because each card has a watercolor type of an art of, you know, like an animal of some sort, or a butterfly, or a bird, or a grub, or like it has all of these, and it's all so like the attention, such beautiful attention went into all of these cards. Then there's like the amount of art that had to be created just to put this game together is unreal. And it's a neat kind of set collection game. I don't know, like, because each card has like a symbol on it, and you're trying to build and add to these rows, and like you say, okay, well, I want to add this bird, but in order to add this bird, you can see the symbol, it needs to have a fruit and a bug on your player board before you can play it. But then once you play it, if you cover another one, you would be losing that particular symbol. It's like, oh, well, do I play it yet? Because I also need that cherry over here. So I could play this one, and then maybe I'll play this one next. And then how you select the cards is so interesting because you got this grid of cards, and you have these little flag tiles with like arrow tiles, and then so you got to put them in the notches that's all kind of notched out along the side of the board. And if the one you need is 2 in, then you need to place the arrow that has 2, so it'll go 2 in. Say, well, darn it, I've already used my 2. Well, can you go on the other side and use the 3 to reach 3 in on from the other side? It's like, no, because that's already taken. It's like, well, you could go 1 because it's on the bottom. It's like, oh, okay, great, I'll put that. But as you play, all these notches are getting filled in, so it's getting harder and harder to get specifically the card that you want. And you're collecting these cards and then playing them onto your... It's just a very interesting mechanism to this game. And then, yeah, just the attention to all the artwork that had to go into it is unreal. So that is my number 8, Meadow.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful game. All right, my number 8 is the one that I had kind of agreed with you, where it's more about the table presence for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the art I find is beautiful, but just having it all on the board just... I don't know, I just love the look of it. And that's London, the second edition, made in 2017. This is made by Martin Wallace, and the artists are Mike Atkinson, Natalia Boric, and Przemysław Sobiecki. Sorry about that, but anyway, this is basically a card game as well. But to me, the art and just the presentation of this game is so classy. I just feel so... English while I'm playing this game in British. I don't know. But the art on the cards to me are beautiful too. It's kind of like old Victorian art. Maybe not the Victorian era, but more that kind of old London British era where they have, you know, the top hats and everything. The cards to me just look so beautiful. And there's not a lot of, like, you don't need a whole lot of space for this game. There's a small game board, and then you just play the cards to build up your city. So depending how big you build your city, that's how big, you know, the space you need. Then you also have these bigger, I can't remember what they're called, but these larger cards that you can build, and they have quite a bit of art on them as well. It's very simple art. It's not, you know, complicated or anything, but to me it's just beautiful, and I just feel so classy playing this game, and I really love the gameplay of it. You are building up your city and trying to collect the least amount of, what is the word? The least amount of poverty, I believe it's called.
Oh, okay.
And you want to have as least as you can at the end of the game, because whoever has the least, so say I had 10 and you had 12 and the next person had 14, they would all get to take 10 off. I would have 0. You guys would only be left with 2 and 4, and those are all worth negative points. So you're kind of trying to keep even-ish with everyone around you, so you're not going to lose a whole bunch of points. But that's not the only way you score points. You score points throughout the game because you are building the city by playing cards, and then you activate your city. And to activate your city, you will do each action that's on the card, and most of them then need to be flipped over. Well, when each card is flipped over, that pile stays there, and you're still going to collect the poverty from those cards throughout the whole game, and you can build on top of them. But it doesn't matter if you have a stack and you have no card on top, it's still going to count. So you're trying to kind of balance everything out, and it's kind of an engine builder as well. But to me, it's just such a fun play, and I love this game, and that's London, my number 8.
Nice. My number 7 is probably the one that fits this list the best. And that's because it's Bob Ross' Art of Chill. So this game was designed in 2017. It's created by Prospero Hall, and the artist, of course, is Bob Ross. So if for some reason you don't know who Bob Ross is, he would do paintings on TV and kind of walk you through all the different elements and the paint that he's using. So if you really wanted, you could follow along and do your own painting. And he would always do these nature themes and put a happy little tree. And then he just had the most pleasant, peaceful voice. And he used to be a drill sergeant in the army. Like, it was just like his alter ego, I guess. And like, so it's just so neat. So all the painting that he's created a lot, are in this game. So you have like a large card that is his painting, and they're double-sided, and there's a stack of them. There's a lot of art in this game. So, and they're all of his original paintings that he did on these on this show. And what's neat is, like, this is a set collecting game, so you're collecting the paint. So you're trying to get the right colored paint, and you're trying to collect the right tool. So either the 1-inch brush or the bigger brush or the palette, and you're trying to get the tools so that you can use the right element. So maybe you need like cardium, whatever, is it yellow or red? I have no even idea. It has been a long time. But you need like a yellow, a blue, and a red, and then the palette in order to go and create the mountains portion of the paint. So then once you've done that element of the painting, so you get to claim that, and then that's worth chill points on the chill meter. But the flavor text in this is also so satisfying. And the whole goal is you're trying to get all these elements done and completed before Bob Ross does. Because you roll a dice every round and it'll do different things. But if you roll the Bob Ross symbol and it has like him and his little afro symbol, he moves along the painting. So he's doing his own painting. And if he ever like completes the painting, that painting is done. You don't get to score anymore on it. And then you got your palette, like, so the components are great. You got your palette where you can put your paint, and then when you got all the right paint, you use your tool to kind of clear out the paint, do your painting on the art, and then now that's a clean palette. But then you might have been accumulating the paint, and then the painting is done, it goes away, a new painting comes up, and now you don't have the right paint, so you got to spend a turn to clean your palette and then start collecting it is such a satisfying, neat, interesting game to play. To look at it, it looks like a nothing game. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. But has really neat and interesting aspect to it. It's an amazing game. And then all the art in it is just so satisfying. And me and Jerome got into watching Bob Ross on Netflix. And so we would watch it on Netflix and play the game at the same time. Like, it's just neat. So that's my number 7, Bob Ross, Art of Chill.
Awesome. And watching it on Netflix, do you mean the movie about him? Or
No. I mean, we're watching his painting video tutorials that he used to do. And we're just sitting there watching him paint as we're playing this game.
You're so chill.
Yeah.
There's actually a movie coming out about him.
I hear this quite controversy.
Traveled around.
And then he had those squirrels, those pet squirrels that he would have on the show.
Oh my gosh. I don't actually know much about him, but I might have to try out this game. I always thought it was just like one of those, IP games.
It just looks like a nothing game, yeah. No, but it's good.
Awesome. All right, well, my number 7 is, I guess this could be another one that is more table presence, but to me, it's simple art and I love it. And that's Azul, made in 2017 by Michael Kiesling. The artists are Philip Guerin and Chris Quilliams. This one is just, the basic art on this is, well, you do have your player board that has some pretty border on it, but it's the tiles, and they just have like a simple pattern on each tile, but they're different colors, and the color pattern, or the color sequence of them, to me is just so beautiful. It's kind of the colors that I have in my kitchen. So I have bought a 2-player player mat of this, which almost looks like a runner, and I used to actually just put it on my table because I played it so often that I kept it there as part of the art in my kitchen, and it has the colors on them as well, so it just looks so pretty. But the tiles to me are just it's just such a satisfying game to play, because just looking at the colors, feeling the nice chunky acrylic tiles, And the gameplay is so neat. You are just drafting these tiles from these little factories, which are these round circles of these little patterns on the table, and you're just placing them on your board. And until you fill up a line, they won't be able to slide over at the end of the round. But it sounds easy, but it's not, because when you draft from the factories, you have to take all of one color and the rest will go into the middle. Now, if you want to draft from the middle, if you're the first person to do it, you have to take this -1 token, but it also will give you, you will be able to be the first player next round. Now, it doesn't sound like it could be that, take that, but it is very take that game, because as you fill up your board, and near the end of the round, there's a whole bunch of tiles in the middle, and you have to draft them. You have to take them all, because you don't end the round until all the tiles are gone. So if you have like 4 blue left in there, 3 black, and neither of you need those tiles, you still have to take them, and they go down on your player board into negative points. I've played this so much on BGA, and it's so funny, because the people that play it on there are sharks, and they play it like they play it for blood, because it's like, I'm like, when I started playing it there, I was just getting my butt kicked, but then after a while I'm like, okay, I'm on to you. I see what you're doing right from the get-go. They're trying to draft things to make me take a whole bunch of stuff I don't want. So you actually play it. You can play it 2 different ways. You can play it that way right from the start, or you can play it just sort of, chilling over coffee, just placing tiles and not really paying attention to what the other player needs. But it can be played both ways, and it's fun both ways, I find. I love it, and I just love the look of it. I love how I feel playing it, and that's my number 7, Azul. That's the base Azul, the first game of Azul.
It does look good on the table, and so bright. All the the versions, they all have like their different theme or whatever. They all look a little bit different, but they all have that bright, vibrant quality to it. Okay, my number 6. I don't know if it's going to be on your list. I'm sure once I mention it, you'll be like, oh yeah, it should be. If it's not, and this is one of those games that when you play it, like you almost get distracted just because you're checking it out. And it's like, Melanie, it's your turn. It's like, oh, okay, right. But it's like, it's so pretty. My number 1 100% does this. That's the one that does it the most. But this one does this for me as well. And that is Kohaku. And Kohaku was created in 2020. It's designed, and the artist is both Danny Devine. And I'm referring to the acrylic tiles here most, because he's done these tiles and the artwork to it. And I mean, and it's simple artwork. There's flower, like, was it like flower lily or whatever, like the floating flowers. And then there'll be fish, and there'll be dragonflies and stuff. But what's so cool about it is that he's painted them on these tiles in layers, so you can see what's underwater and what's above water, and some of the stuff is like somewhat underwater, but part of it is sticking out above the water, and you can see all those different layers of the image of where it is, like underwater and then above the water, and it looks stunning. It is so beautiful. It's a neat game. Like, it's a tile laying game, and you got to kind of lay everything in checkered. Like, every round you add 2, right? Yeah. And it's one that would have like the plant and one that would have an animal, and you're trying to create these combinations so that you would score certain things. But the tiles are gorgeous, and then just the attention of the different level of art and is so neat, and that's why Kohaku is my number 6.
Yeah, this was my number 10, actually.
Oh, was it? Nice.
And it was such a, like, it was hard to not have it on my list, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, do I take something else off? But I have like about 5 more that I, wanted on this list, and they couldn't make it. But yeah, it's so beautiful. I love playing it. I love playing it outside. The light kind of shimmers different outside on the tiles. Oh, yeah. And makes them almost more real looking. It's awesome. Yeah, very good choice. All right, well, my number 6 will be no surprise to you all. This is my number 1 game. Now, the reason I don't have it on my number 1 art list is only because I find some of the other ones have more complicated art, in my opinion. And well, this one is Everdell, obviously, made by James A. Wilson in 2018. The artists are Andrew Bosley and Cody Jones and Dan May. Now, did Dan May, was he the artist for Kohaku?
No, David
No?
Levine
Okay.
or David.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought that, but anyway, so I think the majority of this was Andrew Bosley because he's the one who seems to be famous for this one, but the art is just so beautiful. It's just all these little animals, animated animals, but they're not, I wouldn't say they're cartoonish. They're just very woodland looking and just so fun to look at, and just how he's got them, they're all dressed in clothes, so they just look so adorable. The board art is beautiful. How he designed the shape even of the board is not just your typical square game board. It's like it's in the shape of like I don't even know how to explain it because it has all these grooves in it that fit. All the expansions will kind of groove into them. And then if you play with all the expansions, you need a huge table and you just have to set everything up. And then you have to find a spot for all your cards that you're going to play. It also has a tree that is unnecessary, but looks beautiful on the board, on the table, because you set this up and that's where you place your workers that you won't get to use until later on in the game. You also will place some objectives on there. It just makes it feel so woodsy and like it helps you really get into the game with the art and everything. It's so beautiful. I love this game. It's an engine builder. You are just building up your little village with animals, construction buildings, and they're called critters. That's what they call them now. And how you build it and how many you can put in there depends on what kind of cards you use. You typically can only put 15 in, but some cards, especially with expansions, will let you make your village larger. So it's really neat. Every game is completely different. You never have the same village. There's a couple cards in there where a few take that where you can place a fool in somebody else's village and they will get negative points. It's only like a -2 or -1, I believe. And then there's another card that will let you move that into somebody else's. So you can do a few things like that. There's so many expansions to this game, and I'd say the vast majority of them are awesome, and they bring so much more to it. It's one of those, to me, it's one of those epic games that it started out as, it was actually my first Kickstarter I backed. And
oh, neat.
Which I was so excited for, and I got it, and I played it, and I loved it, and then I thought, well, I wonder if I'll like this game forever. And I mean, now this is
so far so good.
8 years down the road or 6 years. I can't even think of how long. And I absolutely love it. I got the big collection, complete collection, and it's just so pretty and terrific art. Love it. And that's my number 6, Everdell.
Nice. My number 5 is so cutesy. And like every aspect of it has this really cutesy element to it that I was like, well, yeah, it's got to be on the list. And that's Creature Comforts. So Creature Comfort was created in 2022. It's designed by Roberta Taylor, and the artist is Shauna J.C. Tenney. And I mean, so in this one is you're collecting the resources, and along the top you'll have, depending on the season, the different resources that you can go and try and collect. And you're going to spend those resources to get your comforts, because basically you're prepping yourself to be comfortable for the winter season. And you'll be like, well, I want a bookcase, or I want this. And there's these different things that you're going to collect that's going to be worth points that you're going to try to complete so you have them. And it could be like, oh, I want to have a stew, or like different things. But then each of the cards have like such a cute little image that depicts, and then the board is beautiful as well. It's very like the whole thing looks amazing. But what's really cool too is one of the comforts you can get are board games. And then you look really close. It's like, oh, that's Wingspan. Like, and you can recognize the game on the table on this image. And it's like, it is beautiful. And this is a really neat, interesting game as well. Because everything that you want to collect is going to cost dice. And depending on what you want to do, certain pips will be required or certain combinations are going to be required. And you only go into it because it's worker placement, so you'll put your workers on what you want to activate, but you only know what 2 of your dice are at the beginning. Then you roll the rest of the community dice because everybody's going to be using the same ones for those ones. And you're hoping you got the right combination. Now, some spaces could be any dice. Doesn't matter what you roll. If you go to this space, you will be able to activate it. But depending on what you roll might be a better way to activate or so on. But some are very specific. You need to have 3 dice that total 6 or less. So then you don't want to roll a 5. So it's the whole game, plus the dice, the bright colors, and the meeples with the shaped and the matched the characters, and then each characters are these whimsical animal cartoony look to it, and they're so bright, and the whole game looks neat. It's pretty, it's adorable, and it has that adorable art feeling to it as well. So that's my number 5, Creature Comforts.
Yeah, it is very cute and a good game as well. All right, my number 5, I feel like might end up a crossover with you, and that's Parks, made in 2019 by Henry Audubon. The art is made by the 59 Parks print series, so you can literally buy each one of these prints separately in a big form. The cards in this game are the prints of the national parks in the United States. I really wish they'd make a Canadian version of this. We have beautiful national parks here as well, but they have such beautiful art on these cards, and those are the main cards that you're trying to build. You are hikers in this game, and you are moving up this one-way track, collecting the resources and trying to go to these parks, pay the resources, and then you will have this card in your tableau. It is worth points at the end. There's different gear you can buy in this game to help you, give you bonuses throughout the game or make cards cheaper for you. You also have these little canteens that you can fill with water if you ever collect water, and they will sometimes give you a little another different resource or an ability to do something. It's so neat as you're moving along this track. As a hiker, you can't go on a spot with somebody else, except you can once per hiker, because you can flip your camp fire to the burnt side, or like it's out, and that will allow you to do that. Once you get to the end, then you can flip it back, and your other hiker can do that as well. It's such a simple concept, this game, and it's so easy to teach too, because it's not very complicated in rules. But if you do play this game with gamers, it is different than if you play it with people who don't play games. It's more of just you're just collecting resources playing. But when you do play this one with gamers, it does become, you're looking what the other player needs. So you might hate draft a little bit and go to a spot they need where you don't really need it, but they really need it. There's just different ways to play this game again. And I love playing both. I love playing with my friends that enjoy games but are not gamers, but I do love playing with my gamer friends as well. And it's just so pretty to look at. It's not even just the art on the cards, it's the little meeples that they're wooden meeples that they took like time to make, and make them all the wild animals, all different shapes, and it's just so pretty. I had bought the stickers for this game, and I had originally thought, no, I don't want to ruin them, but it adds detail to each of the animal meeples, and it makes them, and even the resources, and it just makes them pop, and they just look so cool. And I love this game, and this one will always stay in my collection as well, and that's Parks, my number 5.
Parks actually was number 14 for me.
Oh, really?
Okay. Just kind of missed it a little bit, but yeah, it's neat. All right, my number 4. So my number 4 is, I think it has such an impact because of the artwork. It's just, the artwork is so neat, and that's Dice Throne. So I'm a huge fan of Dice Throne, but the art to it for each character and how they look, and then the style of the art is, I think it was something really unique and interesting, and that's what really kind of drew you in. Now, Dice Throne was created in 2018. It's created by Nat Chatelier and Manny Tremblay, and the artist is Manny Tremblay and Gavin Brown. Yeah, I got that right. So I was like, oh, did I do that backwards? And Manny's gone and done a lot of other games now since as well. He's the artist for Radlands and a few others. But I think it's just the whole kind of unique art style that he has for each character. Then there was the chapter 1, and then he's gone chapter 2, and then the Marvel Dice Throne. So it's so neat to see like the Marvel characters with his spin to it, because it's almost like a caricature, but like it's just really neat the way that he kind of creates those characters and how they look. I love it. And then I'm a huge fan of this game. I love Roxley games. I love the components. Like every character has a whole set of unique dice as well, and their own symbols, and you're rolling the dice trying to activate certain attacks by having certain combination of either symbols or numbers. And it kind of becomes best played as a 1 versus 1 dice battle game. But the look of it, like, and then they've kind of redone it so that it's a tri-fold board, and you open right up, and then you have the whole art of the character in the middle and the different action of what they can do. And they republished it, like this season 1 was first done, and they republished it so that the artwork would pop even more, so that it's more out front. And then you can get the mat with the artwork on it, so you get like a neoprene mat with the moon elf, or a neoprene mat with the monk. And then just how it all comes, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. It's an amazing and a fun game, and it's one I think is great to introduce somebody to, because it is fairly simple. But unlike any other mass-produced games, like, it has a really unique feel to it that's like, whoa, what was that? It's like, let's play this again. I just love this one. So that's my number 4, Dice Throne. All of them.
Awesome. All right, my number 4 is Emerald Flame, made in 2021 by Rita Orloff. The art is done by Rita Orloff and Liga Klavina. Now, this one is a puzzle game, a narrative puzzle game, but the art in this is just unreal. And the range of art in this isn't just one type of thing. It's not just flowers. It's not just butterflies. It's buildings. It's maps, and they're just all so gorgeous. And she made them on this paper that is like it's hard to explain even. It's almost like a linen paper, but it's almost translucent, some of it. So when you take this outside, I have saved this game to play in the spring, summer, that I can play outside, because for some reason I had taken it out. I don't know when, just taken some of it out of the box while I was outside, and I looked at the paper out there, and it just like shimmered. Like the colors she uses are so vibrant. It's very hard. It's not an easy one. I have started it, but I've kind of put it away for a bit, but I'm going to bring it back out. It's so beautiful, and it's very puzzly, and you're trying to solve these kind of mysteries, puzzles, but how you do that is and there's also objects she has in the game. So she has these like kaleidoscope plastic pieces with these patterns on them, and you're to use those with different papers. There's just so much going on in this game, but just the beauty alone is unreal. And I believe Rita did the majority of it. I'm not sure which, maybe the buildings. I shouldn't even say, because I don't know which part Liga did, but Rita has done other games as well. With art. She's done Adrift, which is similar and has beautiful art as well, with different types of things and drawings of these women goddesses with like, they're just so beautiful. I have them actually up and art in my design room right now, and that's what inspires me, just to look at them, and I'm like, if I could ever make art like that, I'm not even trying to make art like that, but it's just so beautiful. But this Emerald Flame, even the box cover is beautiful. Like you open the game, you see the game, and it's just gorgeous right from the beginning. And that's my number 4, Emerald Flame.
Nice. My number 3 is a game that is all about the art. And it's also one that I think kind of created a genre that produced a bunch of other type of games that use that same style. And that is Dixit. So Dixit was created in 2008. It was designed by Jean-Louis Rubira, and the artist is Marie Cardua. And there's like big tarot-sized cards in this game, and it's all about the cards. And there's a lot of different cards. But even though if you have just a base game, you will see all of them. So I find Dixit can definitely benefit from having the expansion just so you bring in more art and more cards in this game. But each card has this very interesting, whimsical type of artwork to it. It's not what it looks like. It's a desert and a hot sun, and it's a clock that's melting. So it's or you're on the beach and there's this big mountain, but it's actually a sleeping woman, and it's like these images all kind of merge and could be seen into different things. There's different aspect of it that just makes it unusual, but they're all very bright. They're all very interesting. And then it's one of those images that you could look at for quite a while, looking at all the different aspect of it and seeing the different nuance, and it kind of you notice different things every time. And this game kind of takes that into consideration. So you have a hands of card of all these very whimsical images, and you come up with a description. So you could be like passing of time, because you have one that has like a sand timers, and there's a couple in there. So, and everybody's going to pick a card that's in their hands that would kind of go with the description that it could be that you have nothing that suits, but I have no idea. So I'm putting this fish. I don't know. So then you get all these cards and you shuffle them, and then you place them all face up. And only the person who give the description knows which one theirs is. You all know which one isn't because you've put one in there. Well, I know B is mine, so which one was his? So and then you bid on which card you think was the original card that this description was intended for. Now, sometimes, it's like maybe I put passage of time but somebody has like a clock that fits so much better than what I had. And it's just like they had the perfect image that fit just so well. So, and you're trying to get it so that you're vague enough that not everybody votes your cards. It's not so obvious, but that you're not so vague that nobody votes for you. You want some vote, but not all votes. And then you would get points for that. But if you're not the active player that round and people vote on your card, even though you're not the one giving the clue, then you get points for that as well. But then if you guess correctly, you get points for that also. So there's different things that you could win the game and never guess right just because people keep guessing your game, right? Or your card. But so it is so neat. It is so beautiful. And it's funny. My family is of two minds of this. Half of us love this game. Half of us will not play it. So it's and it's one that you gotta play in a crowd. So the more players, the better. It has to be a minimum of 3, but if you have more, it's even better. And that's my number 3, Dixit.
Yeah, I really like this game too, but you do need the right crowd for this game.
Oh, yeah.
If you have someone in there like, oh, I can't stand this. This is such abstract art, whatever, but...
It wrecks it, yeah.
I really like it too. And you could actually take the Dixit cards and use them in Mysterium or Mysterium Park.
Yeah.
Like for some of
Mysterium, Obscurio, like it all kind of created that genre, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very neat. All right, my number 3 is Tang Garden, made in 2019 by, now I'm not sure if I have this backwards, Matthew Majok. And I better check. I wrote them differently here to see which one was the artist. And I'll look at it after and I'll mention what the artist is. But this game is absolutely beautiful. I got this one as a gift. I had talked about it for a while and was kind of humming and hawing if I was going to get it. And Cherry ended up getting it for me for Christmas one year. And it is actually a simple game. It looks very complicated, but it's a simple tile laying game. But the tiles and even the game board alone, the tiles on this are just so beautiful and vibrant, and they have different terrains on them, but they make it look so beautiful because they have paths on them. They have water, different land. The cards you are using have like different like lily pads on them, flowers and fish. The little standees are, I mean, some people paint them and they make them absolutely gorgeous. They are just gray standees, but the backdrop cards in the game that you will use at the end of the boards to place different terrain are just gorgeous. Like everything in this game is beautiful. The money is just these little, they're cardboard, but they're like Japanese coins that have like the holes in the middle, and they just make them so pretty. The gameplay in this is you are just building a garden together. You're all building this garden, but you have certain people that you want to fulfill things where they want to be in certain spots in the garden, and they want certain people beside them or certain features. And that's all you're really trying to accomplish. You have to pay for certain things. There's also set collection in the game for collecting different fish, I believe, and birds. There's a lot going on, but in a simpler version of like a tile laying game. Tile laying is part of the game. There's the set collecting is added onto it, it has come up with several expansions, which I haven't got, but I don't know that this game needs it because it already is just such a nice, simple, beautiful game to play. And just having it on your table set up before you even start the game is just gorgeous. And you just need to look at pictures of this game to see the beautiful Japanese art in this. And that's Tang Garden, my number 3.
Nice. My number 2 is Legends of Novus, and this one was created in 2019, created by Wesley Woodbury, which we've had on our show, and the artist is Andrea Butera. So the artist is from Italy. And I remember Wes when he was creating this game, and he was so impressed with the artwork, and he had hired out this guy to do all of the artwork of it. Now this is fantasy style art, so it's all the monsters and the characters, but even like the back of the cards and the board and everything, like it looks so good. But the art with it, and then these creatures that he's created, and the look of them, and the different locations, and you get this really misty bluish forest, and like it is gorgeous. Now this is right up, like, in high school I was a huge fantasy novel fan, and there's not really tons of artwork with it. You have the cut, but you just kind of create this all image in your head, and to actually have an image of what, like, how amazing these all are, because it's just beautiful. And I remember he was kind of playing the prototype, and the one thing that with the prototype, a lot of time you got the prototype and they're ugly, but he had already hired out for all the art, so you play in the prototype and it is gorgeous and is beautiful, and all this art was like, oh wow. So it's just a stunning game. And I like that the board is like, because the one thing that was very common with fantasy novel is you would open up and then you would always have a map that kind of shows of where the characters are going to travel to, and it's all about traveling and what they encounter as they travel. And this is what this game is, and it embraces that so well. And then the board is this map and all the creatures that'll come up, and it's just great. I love it. And that's my number 2, Legends of Novus.
I'm just pulling up pictures of that. Wow, that game, that map it almost looks 3D.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, oh, it's beautiful. Everything, like even just the board and the characters, like it's, you know, like the player board has that leather quality finish to the background. Everything just looks so stunning. It's just such a really beautifully produced game. I just love the whole look of it, how it all comes together. I think he did the right move there at getting this designer involved. It's a stunning game.
Wow, that is unreal. All right. So before I get to my number 2, I just double checked the artists on Tang Garden because I had wrote a bunch of names first, which usually there's a bunch of artists and one designer, but this one I did write it correctly. There's a few designers and one artist. So the designers are Francesco Testini and Perucula Zizi, and then the artist is Matthew Mizak. So that's the Tang Garden designer and artist. But now my number 2 is Sunset Over Water, made in 2018 by Eduardo Baraf, Steve Finn, and Keith Majetka, and the artists are Beth Sobel and Helen Zhu. So this one is another card game, but it's so beautiful. It's just watercolor paintings of waterfalls, sunsets, mountains. And how you play the game is these cards are all laid out in a big grid. So just sitting down at the table and all you see is this, I think it's like I don't know, it might be a 5x5 grid. I can't remember what you play, but you just see all this beautiful art sitting in front of you. And it's so pretty and the colors are vibrant. And you are little painters that you have these little meeples that you'll go around. And you can only move in certain directions depending on the card that you have pulled. And so if you move like diagonal, say you move 3, you might be able to collect 2 paintings from that. So you get to collect 2 of the cards. And they each have these little icons on them that will either have like a mountain, water, or sun, I think. And then what you need to collect for the objectives are certain things. So depending how many cards you have, you can collect the objectives. But the neat thing is how you go about moving your painter is you all have this hand of cards that you shuffle up and you'll pick 3 and you're going to choose one of them. And on it has a time of the morning you're going to start. And it'll say a direction of which you can move and how many paintings you can collect. So you are basically paint, how many you would paint. So depending, you'll both flip the card and whoever's earliest, they'll get to go first. So they might go in the directions that you needed. So you're going to have to change up what you're doing because you always have an option of at least 2 directions. Sometimes you can go any direction, but only collect 1 painting. And you might be later on in the day, so you have to wait till everybody else goes. It's a very simple card game, but it's just so beautiful to play. You have to check the art on this, and that's my number 2, Sunset Over Water.
All right, my number 1 is just stunning. I bought this game on art alone. I walked by, I stopped, I looked, and I'm like, wow. And I bought the game just because it was just so beautiful, like so beautiful. And that's Ash's Rise of the Phoenix Born, and it's been republished as Ash's Reborn, Rise of the Phoenix Born. And this one was created in 2015. The designer is Isaac Vega, and the artist is Thander Lynn, David Richards, and Fernanda Suarez. And I mean, this game is just unreal at how beautiful it is. And I'll be playing it sometimes and just get so lost in the art that you're just not even seeing the game anymore. Like, it's so beautiful. I personally prefer the original box when it comes to the box art. And then I made sure that I didn't pick games on box art alone, that the art in the game itself is, but the box art is unreal, and it had like the white background, so all these vibrant images would just pop. And each card, and you have each characters, and then there's each characters have their own set of cards, and they'll have like the main character, and they have their allies, and then they have the creatures that they can conjure, and then their spells. But they're so beautiful, beautiful art to it and the vibrant colors, and it just pops so well on all of these cards. This is a stunning, stunning game. And it's so good too. But this is one that I love this game, yet not everybody does. I would compare this to Magic the Gathering because this has a similar play to Magic the Gathering from what I understand. I'm not really a Magic player, but every bunch of people I played it with is like, oh yeah, this plays like that. But you're not buying to create a deck. You've got your deck. Each characters have their deck. And I think that's one thing that I like the most is you buy this game and you got a complete game. You don't have to keep buying. You can buy expansion and get new characters. And I have done that because for some reason, I don't know why, this game didn't seem to get tons and tons of love. And so at one point, these expansion packs were selling for $2.50. I mean, if you were just going to buy so you could put the cards on the wall to showcase the artwork, that alone would have been well worth it. But the gameplay is so interesting. So you have your main character and you're battling the other main character, and it's last man standing is the winner. And you can bring up allies into your battlefield, and you can only have so many people in your battlefield at one time, and you can add spells to your spell book, but again, you can only hold so many spells at a time. But then you can activate these spells by bringing out creatures into your battlefield, and each character have different sets of creatures. One of them has a snake, but the longer it stays in there, the stronger the snakes become, or the more heads it gets or something. Or one of them has like a metal rhino, and he's just really strong, but you can only bring out the one at a time, and you just kind of count on its brute strength. But if they ever take him down, you have no rhino, you got to conjure him up again. And all these actions are controlled by the dice. So you'll have two sets of different dice, and these dice are like, Tansy with a really kind of interesting color combination. These dice have that kind of color combination. And there's 3 icons on them, but you got the main kind of triangle icon that's on every dice, and that's the minimum bottom line strength of action that you can have. But then you'll have the middle one that can be used as the bottom action strength, or the middle one, or you have the top one that you can use as anything you want. And then you roll your dice and it'll be like, okay, well, I want to do this, so that's going to cost me this dice and this, so you put that into the spend. So you don't have mana cards that you got to spend to be able to do your action. You have the dice that you roll, and depending on what you've rolled, maybe you've rolled all top symbols and you could do tons. Maybe you didn't roll that well, so you can only do a few things. You can also have ways to mitigate the dice, that you can kind of shift them or change them, or you can actually activate the action of the dice itself, ignoring the cards for a moment and do. This game is amazing. I love this game. It's my number one most of the time in top list. I haven't played this game in years. First of all, because it is best as a 2-player game. My family won't play this game for some reason. I played it with Lee, and he'd stop the game midway. He's like, I am really not liking this.
Oh no!
It's like, really? I love it. I love it. But so, and then when we have game events, there's more than just the 2 of us, so we normally play multiplayer games instead of a 2-player game. So it's not often that I get to play Ashes, Rise of the Pheonix Born. But when I do, oh boy, it's amazing. It is such a beautiful produced and such a fun game. I adore this one. And that's my number 1, Ashes, Reborn, Rise of the Pheonix Born.
Awesome. All right, well, my number 1 is our only crossover. I had predicted more, but it's just the one, and that is Meadow. Now, you talked about this, how it's the beautiful watercolor art and so many different pictures, because each card is its own art, and it's filled, the full card is full with the art. So pretty. And again, like, didn't just do animals, did animals, butterflies, houses, mushrooms, flowers, like all different kinds of things, the little terrain cards. So pretty. The neat thing also about this game is that if you pick up a card and there's a little critter on there that you don't know what it is, there's a whole leaflet of each card and what they are, and it tells you a little bit about each of them. So it's really cool that way, because some of them you'll pick up, I've never seen one of these before. What is this? Oh, leaf through it. Oh, I've never heard of that. And it's just so cool. The gameplay is just awesome in this as well. It's a simple, like you said, it's kind of a set collection. I believe it's also a bit of an engine builder, because you have to have those icons out there in order to play other cards, but then sometimes you will cover them up so you don't have it anymore, and so you're like, oh, now I need to build another one so that I can build these other 2 cards that I need. It's such a good game, and the art is just beautiful in this, and that's my number 1. Meadow.
Yeah, it's funny because we had a conversation of how many crossovers do you think we're going to have, and I was like, I think I was at 2, you were at 3.
Oh, yeah, I thought 3.
If we extended the list, then definitely we did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's funny. Well, because we have, we have our different likes in the themes of games. You're more the nature side. I'm more of the fantasy or horror, and so we kind of tend to migrate towards different themes quite a bit. So I'm not surprised that there's not that many crossovers here at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Great. Awesome.
This was a neat list.
Well, next week we are going to talk, or I guess in 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about our games that are better than Sorry. Now, everybody's played, I would think everyone's played Sorry as a child at least, and that was your first maybe crack at a take that game, sending those people home and you getting to race around the board. Well, we have better games than that one, and you'll get to hear those. But until then, where can people find you?
So on Instagram, you can find me at Mel's_boardgame_room. I do have my YouTube channel called Mel's Board Game Room, and my Facebook page is Mel Board Game Room. How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm at Instagram, boardgamespecialist, all one word, and Facebook, Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. Now, we also have a Discord, which you will put at the bottom of the thing if you would like to join. And
I've been sharing a lot of funny memes lately. So. You got to go check those out if nothing else.
Yeah, well, and just some of the chat in there. We're talking about vertical versus horizontal games and what a disaster that can be sometimes. I do both. I do mostly horizontal, but then the front of the shelf I do vertical, and I always seem to pick the wrong one to put up there, because then when I pull it down, it's a disaster. But
I just love how easy it is to pull a game out and put it back when they're all vertical. It makes that so much easier than be like, okay, well, I need the bottom one, so lift these 5 and then slide that out, then you got to, so... But it comes at a price. It most definitely comes at a price. Yeah. The good thing is you can buy tons of different shaped bags at the dollar store. And you just got to bag everything. So
yeah, or game tray. The nice thing about the newer games coming out, a lot of them come with game trays. And then once everything's in there, then you can set it up vertical and should be
okay, totally game fun. Trays with lids?
Oh, yeah, they have to have lids.
Come on.
And lids that will squish it so that they can't divide in there, that the things can't move
That's
around
right.
in there. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that alone. I like those game inserts that you can buy, the foam core ones.
Yeah, those are good too.
You just build, but they don't have lids and they will come apart. It's like, okay, you need to design those for vertical. Keep that in mind as well. Yeah. But otherwise, I really like them. It would need a little lid or something that would hold everything in.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. But join our Discord and you'll hear conversations about those type of things. Anyway, until next time, thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Bye.